Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex and this is Big Baby Reviews. Check out my comics at KINGCOMICS.CA. Check out my YouTube channel, King Comics 2021. Check out my Instagram, MaximusRex13, and check me out on Facebook, either Big Baby or Max Rex. Today, guys, it is Thursday. It is Rob Liefeld Day. We are looking at YOUNGBLOOD BLOODSPORT, issue number 1. This is from 2003. So, kind of review the early YOUNGBLOOD stuff. Stopped to where I kind of jumped off back when I was a kid. Last review, we looked at some odds and ends of later stuff from Rob Liefeld when I wasn't collecting anymore. So some kind of mid, I guess, 90s, slightly late 90s YOUNGBLOOD stuff, right? Extreme Sacrifice and Extreme Zero. And now I'm jumping forward even more to where YOUNGBLOOD is not even being published at Image anymore. It was published at Image, and then it was at Awesome, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Now it's at Arcade Comics. So Rob Liefeld just kept kind of creating these new companies when the last one failed, is what it seems to be. Anyone can correct me on that. I'm not judging or anything. You know, I respect business owners, and sometimes you succeed and sometimes you fail. So I guess this was kind of a failure as well with Arcade Comics because they're not around anymore, and there's only one issue of this, and it does end on a cliffhanger, and it was meant to continue. But there's, yeah, I looked on the internet, there's no issue 2 or anything else, so this is basically it. A lot of promise. Kind of refreshing the YOUNGBLOOD concept through the MILLAR, excuse me, that's how you're supposed to pronounce it, right? Even though it's written MILLAR, or we think it's MILLAR. It's MILLAR, I guess is how they pronounce it over there. So what this is basically is, at this point, Mark Millar has been very successful and has become popular with the Ultimates and Ultimate X-Men and stuff like that. It's kind of where his name was really built, I guess I would say. Maybe a little bit on the Authority just before that, right? Maybe that's what got him the clout to do that Ultimate stuff. Basically at this point, Rob Liefeld figures, you know, he can come in and rejuvenate YOUNGBLOOD, and he does. And you kind of have to see this as if, you know, kind of a cross between YOUNGBLOOD and The Boys, or maybe just a more interesting take on the original concept of YOUNGBLOOD, honestly. As far as the art goes, I mean, it's so-so. I'll talk about it when we look inside. This is a Frank Quitely cover, so there are a bunch of variants. I don't have the Rob Liefeld cover, so this is what I got. Pretty cool. It's a good image here. And, you know, what was promised as well was I guess the play on the fact that Shaft, before this, it's been established that Shaft is is he anorexic, or not sure if he's got some body dysmorphia issues, we'll say. I guess he's afraid of getting fat, so you know, he's in pretty good shape, so I wouldn't say he's anorexic, but anyways. And here you've got, of course, Badrock eating just tons and tons of food and protein and greasy stuff in front of him, so, you know, that's the joke there. So this series, again, is kind of a The Boys meets YOUNGBLOOD, and it's really the only YOUNGBLOOD story I think that's really worth it more for the story more than anything else, even though it doesn't continue. It's just this issue. So as I go through it, we'll talk about the art, but I'm really going to actually, I rarely do this, but I'm going to read a lot of passages because I just find Millar's just, you know, I think Rob Liefeld has pretty much just said, you know, you can do what you want, you know, what people usually say carte blanche, but in French, that's a French term, it's carte blanche, to do what he wants. And I think the best part of this issue is the writing and some of the crazy shit that he throws in there. So I got to read it out to you. Having the credits twice, I thought was weird, right? Kind of establishing it down here. That's great. And then they could have used this for something else, but for some reason they just did a double credits, so I don't know exactly what the point of that is. So MILLAR is the story, Rob Liefeld is art, Matt Yackey, Kevin Senft, that's a weird name, color, variant covers by Frank Quitely and Andy Park, and there are more, I think. And Rat Michaels actually does the lettering on this, so that's interesting, but I feel like it's digital lettering, right? So he's probably just helping out in a deadline pinch. And it says Rob Liefeld art. I feel like when I look at this stuff, I feel like this was pencils that were then darkened or played with the levels, basically, brightness, contrast, whatever, to make it almost look like it was inked. But I do honestly feel that this was, the line he created here was originally done with a pencil. You can see kind of the rough edges here on some of these fingers and stuff where it's a little more obvious. Yeah, so again, the most interesting part of this, so remember the original concept of YOUNGBLOOD, you know, celebrity superheroes, that's what you're getting here, but again, much more twisted because it's Mark Millar, and it's kind of like The Boys. It's Garth, and there's definitely a Garth Ennis vibe added to it, just Maybe not quite as extreme as Garth Ennis, where I feel like Garth Ennis hates superheroes and doesn't like them at all. I do feel like Mark Millar does enjoy superheroes, right? So he's not completely trashing them as he writes these stories. All right, so Los Angeles tonight. Seahawk. Sometimes I worry that supervillains were the only things keeping us decent, old friend. And this is the guy from Brigade. Cabot? No, that's the guy from Bloodstrike. Anyways, I'm sure Bloodstone, something like that. The name will come up at some point. What are you talking about, Seahawk? Are you saying you never had a blowjob the whole time we were fighting the good fight against the forces of evil? The way I remember it, we used to go out and get ourselves laid every time we saved the goddamn world, man. That's precisely my point, Battlestone. Battlestone, there we go. Fame was just a perk of the job for us, but it's the prime motivation for all these grasping little teeny boppers. Kind of like, social media today, right? How many of these guys were rocketed from doomed worlds or traumatized by seeing their parents shot dead? References to Superman and Batman, obviously. They just figured out putting on a cape and cowl was the fastest route to a Barbie pink mansion and multi-million-dollar sports endorsements. And I'm reading all this because I just feel like Millar's is dead on with his references and stuff, and some people say it's a different form of writing that uses pulp culture, and it's kind of easy, some people have said, but I do find it very entertaining. Most of Millar's stuff I enjoy, and his commentary on society doesn't bother me, really. He's really pointing out a lot of truths, honestly. Who gives a rat's ass? 1,000 super teams patrolling the skies means crime's almost non-existent and everybody's having a good time, baby. We're richer than Dick Cheney and getting our cocks sucked by 2 up-and-coming super teens, for Pete's sake. What are you complaining about? So I guess the implication is that these girls are possibly underage. Battlestone's doing some cocaine here. So this is not your mommy's kind of, extreme characters, Youngblood characters. Surprised a little bit about this because, Liefeld's always tried to push the edge a little bit with his stuff. But this is way over the edge even for him, right? He's a pastor's son, so there's some stuff he kind of stayed away from, I think, in most of his comics up until this point. Now he's just going for broke and letting Millar do what he wants, and depicting, superheroes snorting cocaine is hilarious to me. So we've got superhero deconstructionism over some Liefeld pencils, so it's kind of an odd match, right? I'm just sick of all the decadence, Battlestone. Sick of the drugs, sick of the champagne, sick of Scott and Logan here dressed up as their girlfriends and giving us head. Okay, so those names are important. Scott and Logan. And this is why I want to read this to you, because it's hilarious. So Scott and Logan, I'm sure you know, are Cyclops and Wolverine, right? So they're implying that they're dressing up as their girlfriends here. I just need a challenge again to remind me why I put this helmet on in the first place. Jesus, don't tell me you're thinking about joining this new Youngblood team they're talking about. Why the hell not? They're putting serious money behind this thing, and word is they're going to be tackling missions on a scale we never even dreamed of on the old team. Is it really such a crime to want to help people again instead of all this 24-hour party crap? Let me answer that question after another series of blowjobs, old chum. So all these references to pop culture and superhero stuff. So old chum, a reference definitely to Adam West and the old Batman 60s TV show. And here we've got Cyclops and Wolverine dressed up as their girlfriends. So I'm assuming Cyclops, I guess they say girlfriends, but really it's girlfriend, Jean Grey. So Cyclops has kind of a Jean Grey wig, and Wolverine has the Marvel Girl mask there. So that's pretty funny. Very reminiscent to, I guess, this whole scene of in The Boys Hero-gasm, right? If you've seen The Boys. Oh, this is pretty intense too. So we're back in LA, I guess, but instead of Hollywood, it's called Herowood. And here's another kind of where you can see that this is probably taken from pencils, not inks. Pretty tight pencils, though. I mean, something a little bit with the printing, and it's a little blurry here and there. There's a little bit of fuzz that, leads me to believe that's pencil. So these guys, notice all these zombie gentlemen, first of all, just pointing it out, but they're all black gentlemen, right? That comes into play in the dialogue here. And that's why I'm reading most of this dialogue, because it just makes me laugh. Die! But they're already dead, Shaft. Oh, because, sorry. Shaft says, eat shit and die, shithead. Very clever. First time I hear Shaft swear, I guess. Die, but they're already dead, Shaft. Dead and reanimated by the voodoo powers of the necromancer. Do you really think you have what it takes against the leading lights of the 1960s civil rights movement? So all these gentlemen are part of like zombie versions of the civil rights movement. It's just it's just, again, the disconnect between the Liefeld art and the subject matter of the writing is just crazy to me. And that's what kind of why I like this comic. It's just so opposite and so not what you're used to with, you know, accompanied, not the type of writing that you're used to being accompanied by Rob Liefeld art. Oh, you can struggle all you like, young man, but we both know that strand of Supreme's pubic hair they stole from the city's science museum is on its way to us. And with that single scrotal follicle, the new Legion of Evil will create an army of super clones who shall... Okay, so they went to get one of Supreme's pubes in the museum to create clones from it? Oh my god. Jesus Christ. This is pretty small, and I'll just cover up real quick in case YouTube really flips out on the super tiny drawing. But that's Namor and I'm going to assume Sue Storm here. You know, having some sort of affair behind Mr. Fantastic's back. It's a nice little reference there. Will you stop offing necromancers zombies? You're supposed to be at a psychological disadvantage against these much-loved historical figures. Yeah, well, you're talking to the guy who rented Malcolm X thinking it was a mutant flake, buddy. So, it's just such an odd reference here that someone would think that Malcolm X, because the X is it's a movie about the X-Men, basically, is what he's implying there. So yeah, it's a fun, entertaining read for all these kind of jabs and references to, you know, mainstream superhero tropes and comics. What's the 411, excuse me, on all this, Shaft? Just what's left of the super criminal underground making a last-ditch attempt to steal Supreme's genetic material for a shot at the big time again, officer. That's a mouthful. I never thought I'd see the day when criminal masterminds couldn't even afford henchmen with heartbeats to do their donkey work. Kind of pathetic, really. Boys, get this one-of-a-kind pubic hair back to the Science Museum. So all this was all about a pubic hair. I love it. Isn't this supposed to be holding up 1,000 tons of weight or something? Excuse me. Isn't this supposed to be holding up 1,000-ton weight or something? Heads up, Shaft. It looks like you got company again. Oh, terrific. I know there's a shortage of bad guys around, but did they have to appear and pretend it's a team-up every time I nail a friggin' purse snatcher? You're wasting your time, assholes. It doesn't matter how long you spend blow-drying your hair. None of you are going to be in the morning papers anyway. Nice going, Shaft. Let's do this again sometime, huh? So, kind of a bunch of hangers-on to stick around once Shaft's done all the hard work to come in for the photo ops. We've got kind of analogs here, so I almost feel like this is like Lady Death. Not sure about this guy. Kind of a reverse Deadpool-ish kind of thing. Maybe Iron Man. Not sure it's so tiny. Definitely Mr. Fantastic, right? Kind of the Savage Dragon, or one of those Kirby underwater guys from the Inhumans or New Gods. I think there was one that was kind of similar there too. And, you know, some sort of Hulk there. Next morning, Hero Troll smashes new crime syndicate. Supreme's pubic hair returned to Science Museum. Man, where does Troll get off with all this crap? You're out there risking your life on these jobs and that sleazy little punk's all over the papers for something he didn't even do. This city might be crawling with costumes, buddy. There ain't no justice in the world, I'll tell you that for nothing. Hell, I knew what I was getting into when I signed the contract, Badrock. I just needed some quick cash. What can I say? Besides, it's not like he isn't paying me anything. Every cape in a Troll studio gets a little cut of the company's profits, so I'm still making enough cash to keep me in beer money. Well, it's a long way from the Youngblood days, dude. I just wish we'd done a Battlestone and Seahawk and stuck all the moolah in some high-interest savings account. So that's how I guess Battlestone and Seahawk are living it up, right? You make that kind of cash when you're 16 years old, you just figure the gravy train's going to go on forever because Badrock was a teenager originally, right? We got a naked Hawkman back here. That's kind of weird. Just an odd choice. As far as the concept of Youngblood and the original concept that they're celebrities, superheroes, Miller, is really focusing in on this, though. Apart from all the dirty dialogue and the fun stuff, you know, he is pointing out these characters' egos and stuff and in relation to, you know, their popularity and all that and the media attention, which is definitely something that was sorely missing from the original Youngblood series, right? That's kind of what we were expecting. We got very little of it here and there, but you know, Jim Valentino probably up to this point had explored that aspect more than any other. I don't want to go through this whole dialogue between the two, right? Because that's not the most interesting bits necessarily here. Just want to mention in the artwork again, like Liefeld's art at this point, I'll repeat again, you can probably tell from most of the stuff that it's definitely done from pencils, and it's lost a lot of its magic, to be honest. It's getting a little stiffer, and some of the renditions of the faces, like I don't recognize this as a Liefeld face at all, or very little of it as a Liefeld face, and I just find it just very odd everywhere. All of a sudden, Badrock is insanely huge compared to, you know, same kind of, like here, right? That kind of makes sense. But what's going on here? Why is Badrock so damn big compared to Shaft? So I'm not quite sure what's up with these characters. We'll skip over the section here. So what do you think about the secret meeting we've been invited to at the old CIA spook joint, Johnny? Should we go along and check this out? There's a exposition dump. Sure, why the hell not? Nobody else would piss on us if our asses were on fire, honey. What have we got to lose? So basically all the old Youngblood members are being called back is kind of what's happening here, right? So Smiling Stands, girls, Supergirls, some sort of porn shop. What's going on here? Let's read it, huh? With great power comes great responsibility and all that shit, dude. There, did I say it right? I'm really lousy at remembering secret passwords and stuff like that. Was everything okay? Relax, Badrock. You were word perfect, kid. Now just step into the masturbation booth and type your old Youngblood codes into the computer system. So this is kind of a Stan Lee guy, right? Smiling Stands, girls, super. I guess they're going into a porn joint or something. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. And then we got some interesting kind of titles here. Here's Rob kind of shilling his character. One of the characters in... You can look this up on YouTube, not on YouTube, excuse me, Google. At some point, Rob Liefeld was trying to do kind of a daily strip, I guess, of a superhero psychiatrist or psychologist. And you had this character who was very tiny but had like a huge set of balls. I feel like that's him there. And it didn't really work out, but you can check those out on Google. They're not very good, to be honest. But, you know, if you're interested in looking that up, you know, strip Rob Liefeld or something like that, and you can look it up. So some interesting porn titles here. Buttman, Kingdom Come, haha, Dick Knight Returns. That's not super clever. Uncanny Sex Men. That's pretty funny. Debbie Does Asgard. Watch Women. So not Watchmen. Sex Men 2. Okay. Man, using your old Youngblood codes again. Secret meeting chambers in the weirdest locations. It's just like old times, huh, Shaft? Okay, so the secret meeting is under a porn shop. Oh yeah, except for the bodily fluids on the floor. Beggars can't be choosers, buddy. So the elevator is in a masturbation room. Give it to Mark Millar to do that kind of stuff, right? You think anybody else is going to show up? Except for the bodily fluids on the floor. Like, come on. Youngblood Genesis, Busiek, Thomas, Walker Bros, Liefeld, on sale now. Is it? Did this ever come out? I don't think I've ever seen it. This kind of looks cool. I kind of like the art. Never heard of it. Boom! We got our old school Youngblood team shot. We got basically all the old Youngblood members up to this point in this shot, or most of them anyways. I don't know if they're all there. Sci-Fire's there. Wow. He's from the away team, issue 1. He's only there in the very first few issues. Yeah, it does feel like most of the Youngblood crew are there. So Vogue, Troll, Cougar, Big Brother. So the Alan Moore run, the early run, the Scott Scroach run. I guess that's with Big Brother as well. Scroachy? Scrotum? I don't know how to say his name. These stupid names in comics. Hey, what the hell's going on here? Somebody yell assholes assemble or something? So, not going to go through this part here. I wouldn't say there's as much as these like references and jokes a mile a minute in these 2 pages here, but basically Graves is going to explain it, right? He's from the Youngblood back in the day as well. It's good to see you again, boys and girls. Agent Graves has missed all his little Youngbloods. What's going to make us all different from all the other stupid revamps this time, Graves? I hope this ain't just more costume redesigns and a new badass attitude. So he's actually referencing all the times that Youngblood's been rebooted, so there's some self-parody there. I'm surprised that Liefeld was into this stuff, but, you know, again, this comic is, I gotta say, kind of an anomaly, so, you know, and again, it only lasts 1 issue, but what an issue it is. On the contrary, Sentinel, what I'm offering you here is a chance to eclipse all those cocky little snots who stole your place at the top of the charts, old friend. So, like, the newer Youngblood recruits, right? You see that $50 billion headquarters they were showing off in People magazine? Well, this new team's got a $100 billion HQ soldier. You hear them bragging about how they've saved the world a few times. Ladies and gentlemen, my new Youngblood is going to be saving 1,000 different universes. The initiative we're putting together is being funded by 999 parallel realities, and you're going to be responsible for literally trillions of lives. Think of the fame, think of the glamour, think of all those little digits when your bank statements come in. Wow, that's a pretty lofty goal here for Youngblood to protect like all the parallel universes. Interesting. What's the catch? We've only got room for one of you. What? How can you have a team with just one person? That doesn't make any sense at all. The team's already been put together, Shaft. The new Youngblood is an inter-reality defense initiative where each dimension appoints their greatest post-human personality. Superhuman, right? I brought you here so we could do the same. And how do you suggest we choose which of us gets to save the universe, Mr. Graves? Flip a coin? No. I want you to eliminate each other from the running, Suprema. The last man alive is the winner, and everybody else gets a nice state funeral. Are you nuts? I hardly think we're going to kill each other for a place in some stupid new super club. I think you're being a little naive, Doc Rocket. Youngblood were the leading lights of the bastard generation, and I'm offering you a shot at the big time again, honey. Not in matters of the utmost national security, Shaft, and there's nothing more important than... Oh, okay, so excuse me. Okay, bad placement here, right, of phylacteries and word balloons. You're meant to be reading this first, and I definitely think everything, your eye, the arm here is kind of leading me here first. Isn't killing technically illegal in America? Not in matters of the utmost national security, Shaft, and there's nothing more important than selecting a new security force. This new Youngblood we're putting together requires the best of the best troops. We don't have room for anyone squeamish about little things like murdering former teammates. We need shits of the highest order here. Very MILLAR, right? Again, evil superheroes is his thing. As of midnight, it's kill or be killed, I'm afraid. Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I don't want anything to do with this crap. I might not be famous anymore, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be an asshole. You're contractually obliged, to take part in this, Seahawk. Remember that promise to die for your country no matter what we asked of you? So sue me, man. I'd rather sweep the streets than stab one of my old teammates in the back. Come on, Battlestone. We're getting out of here, pal. And then we got this guy. I forget his name. I think he's Australian. He's like a kind of a Gambit ripoff. Charging up a stick, and boom! Seahawk's head explodes. Kind of weird that we get kind of still his face and kind of the background here. You know, maybe I would have put it over here and showed more of the after effect, because now it's like his head explodes. Or did it? It's a weird bit of storytelling. Or worse, you don't have the head at all. But if you're going to have it, that profile shot should probably be over here. Weird choice, but, you know, some more gory Liefeld visuals here. Kind of reminiscent of that chapel suicide. What's that? Sorry, YouTube doesn't like that word. Taking yourself off the map scene. Graves, you piece of shit. So help me God. Don't say I didn't warn you. I'm going to rip your lungs out for this, you little... Am I allowed to say that word? It's in the book. Faggot. I'm just quoting. Now, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted, the point of this exercise is to kill each other, but any civilians hurt will result in your immediate execution. Anything goes as far as combat is concerned. Fight as dirty as you like. We're not playing by any outdated code of conduct here. You know, the superhero code. Now, does anyone have any questions before you go back home to say goodbye to your relatives and loved ones? Good. Well, let the games begin. And I gotta say, man, I would be totally down for issue 2 if it had ever come out. Like, that's a great setup for something kind of quite different and new for Youngblood for sure. And the fact that he's using Youngblood and what's already been established in Youngblood and turning it on its head is what's making it interesting, right? So this issue, as I said, I read a lot more of it than I usually do in a review, but what makes it interesting here is those references in the writing and the storyline as opposed to the art itself. You know, the art is fine. You know, it's fine Liefeld art, and finally seeing some Liefeld art on top of a pretty good story, entertaining story is fun. Maybe the best written Youngblood comic ever, right? I know Alan Moore was on there as well, but there's something about this one that I really like. Although I do know my buddy Robert Norton is reviewing some of those Alan Moore written Youngblood issues right about now, or, you know, a couple of weeks back as I, you know, film for a few weeks ahead. So you can go check out that on his channel. And I do believe that those issues are still pretty fun. I remember reading them back in the day, and I liked them. But I think, just like this, the Alan Moore story never really comes to a conclusion, unfortunately. I'm wondering where Liefeld's getting these shots here. So his art's a little bit different. He's worked in... At this point, I feel like he's doing some Michael Turner stuff in his art. Mark Silvestri, maybe. Like, I'm not quite sure. He's incorporating some of that Top Cow look, I feel like, in his art. And a lot of those guys were doing pencils straight to the comic, right? So maybe that's where he got the idea as well. No inking, just what they call digital inking, I guess. But yeah, Youngblood, Bloodsport number 2. Let the games begin. They never did. And this is basically all we got. Which is not the first time that happened with Youngblood and Rob Liefeld. So there you go, guys. That is my review of Youngblood Bloodsport number 1. Hope you enjoyed it. Those of you who are still subscribing or watching the videos, thank you so much. I really appreciate your support. Thank you for hanging in there. Those of you who are watching but are not subscribed, please do so below. It only takes a second. It really helps the channel grow. Helps get us out there to other people who are like-minded and like the same kind of stuff that we do. Basically, comic books. So thank you for watching, and everyone out there, have an awesome day. King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.